Human Gambit series. Book 1, Chapter 7. First Flight. After bringing the last of the systems online, Max finishes up the pre-flight checklist with the computer and command central. When all is ready, he activates the first stage program, and communications are immediately cut off when the physical connection to the external antenna is opened via relay. Then, the maneuvering fields activate, and Scrappy One slowly rises 20 meters above the staging area and the cradle it has been sitting in. As the fields engage, Max feels a slight tug downward, indicating that the shaped fields below the craft are now applying artificial gravity inside the ship. Despite this, there is no sensation of external gravity or inertia. The lack of gyroscopes means there is no way to keep track of the ship's relative movements and position in space. With no windows or external cameras, there are no live views or optical direction finding, and without radio, there is no GPS or other radio direction finding tools. There is literally no way of knowing what's going on outside the ship while the maneuvering fields or FTL systems are active. Thus, everything relies on what feels to Max like a whole lot of educated guessing. In actuality, high-end computer simulations calculate the ship's position and orientation with respect to Earth and other objects in the solar system. Much testing was done to determine the maths that would control the ship's positioning in regard to known astronomical objects at the time of the initial liftoff. So far, so good, thinks Max. His display shows a simulated view of the ship 20 meters off the ground, rotated 5 degrees to the left of his starting position and at an incline of 45 degrees. Max has no idea if the ship is really pointed in the proper direction. It could be pointed directly at the ground, and he wouldn't even know it. When he taps the icon to engage the FTL drive, he could die instantaneously. He hesitates before touching the icon, takes another deep breath, and activates the second stage program. The display simulation now shows him moving at an ever-increasing velocity up and out of the atmosphere. Tom is watching Max's progress from Command Central. He begins to see visual interference as the maneuvering fields on Scrappy One are engaged. It looks like heat waves rising in the summer, but Tom knows it's the fields interacting with the atmosphere, Earth's magnetic field, and possibly even a bit of space-time distortion. The ship rises and holds its position for a second. As the fields ramp up, a soft orange glow begins to envelop Scrappy One. Then, as Tom watches, the ship rotates and tilts before the glow gives way to a brilliant blue-white, and the ship silently bolts away into the distance. Max's virtual display shows that the ship has reached its orbital destination and should be stopped, holding position in space. Hey, I'm still alive. What a strange feeling of discontinuity. If not for the display, I would never have known that I had moved at all. Maybe I didn't move. I could still be in the same spot. There's no way to really know except to shut the drives down and see what's out there. Here goes. The next stage, the third stage, will disengage all fields so Max can communicate with Command Central and receive any necessary telemetry and software updates. This is when he will find out if he's really in space or if he's still inside Earth's atmosphere and has started falling back toward the planet. If he's plunging back to Earth, Command Central should have started broadcasting a signal that will immediately update the ship's telemetry and reactivate the fields automatically. Max activates the third stage program and is immediately racked by vertigo and panics. I'm falling. I must still be in the atmosphere, and I'm falling back toward the planet. His eyes dart wildly around the ship. Max desperately tries to focus on the central display console. How long until the new telemetry is received and the automated systems reactivate the fields? After seconds that feel like an eternity, Max struggles to get his breathing under control and tries to calm his racing heart. He once again glances at the console, and it shows him as being in orbit. The simulation is obviously incorrect. What? That's not right. It can't be right. I'm falling. He's sure he has only minutes to live. Then, the display updates with new telemetry. It confirms that he's in orbit, remarkably close to the expected coordinates. What? It's got to be a mistake. Then Max has an epiphany, realizing the error is his. He has mistaken the lack of gravity for falling. He's never been in space, and the underwater suit training still had gravity present. Here in microgravity, his inner ear is going crazy, and it's everything Max can do to keep from using the puke tube. Oh, good grief, what a rookie mistake. At least I didn't wet my shorts. I can only imagine the ribbing I would get from Tom if my suit sensors detected a wet nappy just after my first jaunt into space. Luckily, the uncomfortable feelings subside quickly, and Max is grateful for the pre-flight cocktail of anti-nausea medications he'd been given. In an emergency, he has a plethora of tubes within reach of his mouth. Each tube is color-coded and will release a needed liquid medication or nourishment if he bites down on it. He glances at the status display. By all accounts, his ship is retaining an atmosphere and everything is green across the board, so he could remove his helmet if needed. Max receives a hail from Command Central. "Max here," says Max. "Max, that was astounding. Everyone here is overwhelmed. We're all crying, celebrating, or both. You've made it past the most dangerous parts of the mission. Congratulations," says Tom excitedly. "Don't you mean congratulations, you're still alive?" Max quips. "Yeah, that too," laughs Tom. "How are you holding up? We noticed a spike in your heart rate and respiration just after reaching orbit." "What? That?" "It was just my excitement about having made it to orbit in one piece. I know, being the consummate hero that I am, that shouldn't have happened. I just want you to know that it had absolutely nothing to do with me panicking because of my inner ear's first introduction to microgravity. I absolutely did not almost piss myself," chuckles Max. "Copy that," chuckles Tom in return. "Anything else that absolutely didn't happen that we need to know about before moving forward?" "Nope, good for now," says Max. "The simulation was pretty spot on," Tom continues. "We expected a more significant margin of error because of the ship's proximity to Earth, but it worked out pretty well. We're updating your software and the pilot probes now. Here, while you're waiting, take a look at this." Immediately, a new icon appears on Max's panel, and he touches it. It's a live video feed of his ship, sitting in space above Earth. That's a live feed from WildStar 5. It's one of ours and in your vicinity. It's part of the deep space array that we'll use to track you and update your ship's telemetry when needed, says Tom. Max really can't believe his eyes. He's actually in space? Without feedback, visual, or other sensory cues, the human mind can't believe it's really traveling. It isn't until this moment, when he sees the video of Scrappy orbiting the planet, that his mind accepts the fact that he's actually in space, orbiting Earth, and not in some training simulation at the command center. If he had been told this was a teleporter instead of a ship, he would have believed it. He wouldn't have known he had moved at all. Instead, he would have thought that he had just appeared in a new place. "Are you ready for the next pre-hop checklist?" Tom asks. "Nah," chuckles Max. "I'm thinking about taking a shower, drinking a cold one, and maybe grabbing a quick nap." Tom laughs. "Are you going to order room service too?" Command Central interjects. "Okay, boys, it's time to get back to work. Let's drop the banter and stick to the schedule.